This is a video about the color coral and spiral dynamics, some more thoughts and experiences. Good afternoon, this is Wake Up with some more thoughts and experiences on coral. Thank you, first of all, for all the people who are listening to these videos from all over the world, and thank you that your two top videos, your two most favorite videos were Spiral Dynamics Coral and Spiral Dynamics Turquoise. This is an indication that most of the people who are listening to this channel are centered in either yellow or turquoise, which is exactly what the aim of this channel is. So thank you for people from Israel, Denmark, Croatia, Norway, Costa Rica, Somalia, Finland, Canada, Slovenia, Turkey, Bulgaria, Sweden, US, Germany, and so on. A friend of mine who is centered in coral recently asked me, is there still anything you want? This is a very good question. Is there still anything I want? You can ask that yourself also. Someone who is centered in coral or teal probably can honestly answer this question with no, for several reasons. Firstly, if you're in tune with everything around you, what could you possibly want? And secondly, you don't have a feeling of I-ness anymore. There's no I to want anything anymore. I've had the experience of being centered in coral 2 times in my life, and both times it didn't last because it's a very anti-social color. It's very difficult to be in a relationship with someone, for example, and being centered in coral because you don't give a shit about anything anymore. There's this weird idea in spiral dynamics that there's somehow some kind of linear movement from one color following another, only in one direction. This is not true, of course. We all have all colors. All of us have all colors. They're accessible. But the center of gravity, the one color, which is the topic of your life right now, changes all the time. Can change anytime, any moment, in both directions. You can go from turquoise to coral anytime, and you can go back from coral to turquoise anytime, because turquoise is a much more social and convenient and comfortable color to be centered in. But of course, once you have experienced one color like coral already, which is the laundromat, as I call it, then you have access to it and you have the memory of the experiences you had while you were centered in that color. In the end, it doesn't matter in which color you're centered in. You can even wake up in any color. There are a lot of people who wake up in blue. Any religious person, even Zen monks, if they wake up, they're probably centered in blue. And so many gurus, like one of you has said recently, are centered in green. That doesn't mean that they are not awake. It's just they woke up through green experiences. And the color in which waking up happens colors your awake experience. The interesting thing about awakening, which very likely happens in coral or in teal, is that you lose the sense of I-ness, of me-ness, of separation. So, do I still want anything? Do you still want anything? What's your answer to the question? You don't have to write it in the comments, but you can, of course. But it's a private question somehow. Is there anything you still want? Really, really want. I mean, not just I want to eat a burger right now or something, or want a good night's sleep. Is there something you really want? You really feel a need, a desire for? Maybe even company. That's the usual thing for yellow and turquoise. The feeling of loneliness gets so strong that you want company. You want to find other people who are also centered in yellow and turquoise to talk with. In coral, you don't give a shit about anyone else, and not about their opinions either. That's why we had this discussion on the last coral video and on the Jordan Peterson video. If you still give a fuck about what other people say and think about you, you're not in coral. Why is that so? Because coral is thinking about reality. What is reality? What is I? What is me? What is God? What is truth? What is time? These kinds of things. Coral is not thinking about other people. It doesn't make any sense to think about other people in coral. Coral is the second tier version of red. Red is very much I, me, but without empathy and very destructive. Coral is not destructive, but it is not concerned with other people because the topic is to cleanse oneself, to see really what is me and what is not me, and there's not much left at the end of this process. Actually, there's nothing left. The reason why so many people, relatively speaking, so many people are in the first two second-tier colors, yellow and turquoise, and not in any further colors, because it's a horrible torture to go through this coral cleansing, purification, purgatory thing. You have to leave everything behind. It's a falling away thing. It's not that you gain something. Everything is falling away. Everything you thought was something to hold on to is falling away. It's actually a falling feeling, that you're falling down into an endless abyss. And all your I-ness, all your ego is being stripped away, like a spaceship entering the atmosphere of the Earth. So it's not that it's an ego thing, that you don't care about others. It's only there's no point to it. There's no point because reality is fully subjective in this phase. Only your own experience counts. No theory is interesting anymore. Only your own experience counts, and you can experience a lot. Once all the boundaries fall away, all the limitations you have been accepting all your life, once they all fall away, so much is possible. Still, at some point, the loneliness gets so strong that you do try to create new relationships with other so-called people. If they exist or not, that's always the question. In the end, it's all one consciousness, and all the people, including oneself, are just expressions of that. So there's also no more point in getting angry at anyone. It's like getting angry at yourself. It's a waste of time. And time itself is one of the most interesting topics of coral. Linear time stops to make sense in coral. It's not really there. It's part of the whole hoax, of the whole illusion of Maya, of your story. And then again, so many things become possible, but it's too crazy to share it with anyone. It's very difficult to find other people who you can share it with. And there seems to be some kind of weird inbuilt thing as a human being that you feel the need to share your experiences with another living being. That's really weird. At the same time, you can't be bothered with anything. Most of the coral people I know, they don't do much of anything. They're just experiencing. In first tier terms, they're not doing anything. They're couch potatoes or sitting on a park bench or whatever. It's very rare that a coral person starts to teach. Because teach whom? Teach what to whom? There's no point to talk about anything to anyone. It's all bull. But some people seem to have the destiny, the fate to teach. Some people are born teachers and some are not. And if you're a born teacher or born communicator or born whatever, social animal, and you have the choral experience. I say now choral experience, not centered in choral, because it's all about experience. All theory falls away. So once you have a potential teacher who experiences choral, that person will try to start to teach. And this can work or it can not work. And usually what happens is then you fall out of choral. Because it's too difficult to be in a non-dual experience, a non-time experience, a non-I experience, and then to start teaching this to others. It's too weird. And this is what we have seen in many cases, like Ramesh Balsaka and so on. At some point, it seemed they fell out of it. Because the teaching became stronger than their experience, and they stopped to evolve, kind of. I don't like the word evolution, but still everything is changing all the time. It's a dynamic thing. You're never in one place and one time. You're always all over the place, and all kinds of new aspects unfold like a fractal. And we like to call this being centered in one color, but actually it's a dynamic process that is never standing still. And you can experience this. It's not a theory anymore. You can really experience the practical part of theories like spiral dynamics in choral. Also, you start to wonder why anyone would want to be in choral or would want to be awake. To do what? To gain what? There's nothing to gain. It's just a different aspect of looking at the world without your pink glasses or your red glasses or whatever. It's just you see, you perceive, you experience whatever reality is more directly than before. But it's not necessarily nicer. You see, I'm struggling here to describe it because it's beyond words, beyond the mind. The mind can do so many things, but it's a pinpoint compared to the vastness of choral experience. The mind starts to become a limitation, and thus it drops away as well. And without the mind, it's difficult to speak. That's why Meher Baba, for example, he didn't speak anymore. He stopped speaking. He was still a teacher, but without speaking. He said everything has been said already. There's nothing to add. And that's true because people can't understand it anyway until they have the experience that is described in the words, and then they think, then you get the aha experience, the thing, now I get it. But until then, it's very questionable if the words help. But still, some people teach because the hope is there and the personal experience is also there, that the right word at the right time can trigger a new dynamic change, which we call shifting of the center of gravity from one color into another. So I probably have to take back the example of Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, because so many of Nietzsche's own life is worked into that book. And he might have had choral experiences, I don't know. He definitely was ahead of his time. But he was a very difficult character, and I have no idea if he was ever centered in choral or awake or enlightened or whatever. Probably not. He was very negative also. Then again, if you listen to U.G. Krishnamurti, not Jiddu but U.G. Krishnamurti, then he also sounds quite negative. But it's not really a negativity. It's just, it has a distinct choral quality because he's just rejecting everything that is too far away from the purest form of truth you can talk about. He's rejecting all kinds of belief systems, all kinds of religious teachings, all kinds of hopes, all kinds of marketing hoo-ha. Yeah. He was asked, what is your message for mankind? And he said, I cannot help you. So many people talk about helping. Who do you want to help? Who are you to help someone else? What makes you so large, so big, that you can help others? Which others? Help how? How do you know what they need? So many teachers and gurus, they can't even help themselves. Why would they start to try to help others? So it's all about an experience of self, but without self. That's choral. The self drops away and there's still an experience. But who is experiencing it? That's the question. That's the big question of choral. Who the heck is experiencing this without there being an experiencer? Who's observing this? Is there some kind of who? Is there someone sitting behind my eyes experiencing all this? In choral, you have to come to terms with the feeling of being alone. First, you have to accept that you're alone, and then the whole thing opens up to a vastness, something very, very large that is beyond words, to which you're suddenly in contact with. But what to do with it? Is there anything to do? Can you do anything? Is there something like free will? Or is the best you can experience or achieve or reach just the realization that there is something happening? Something happening, and there's only the experience of it, only the observation, nothing more, which is also freedom. But this is very far away from an I experience, from an ego experience, from something that I am doing or that is happening to me. This is falling away. So it's very strange. And this often feels like waking up from a dream that you have been dreaming all your life previous to that. That's why the term awakening was termed. I don't know if it's a good term or a bad term, but it feels like you're waking up from a slumber. And suddenly everything is clear, but also there are no consequences. There's nothing you would change from now on. It's happening anyway. There's nothing you can change or even want to change. So back to the question, what do you want? Is there still something you want? Who wants that? Who's doing the wanting? Who's experiencing the wanting? Why not only enjoy the moment, the power of now? So what you need in coral is the courage to stand alone, as UG puts it. To realize that first of all you're alone and you have to deal with your own dirt. That's the road. First, your own stuff. All the thing that the ego has to offer and the human history has to offer, all the humanness has to be dealt with, has to be accepted and let go of. Do not take it seriously. You will never get rid of your negative emotions. Anyone who says they're now purified and in the light and enlightened and all the negativity is gone and everything is love, that's bullshit. No one is always in love all the time. But if you deal with your dirt, you gain the power to not take it seriously anymore. So let me rephrase something I said in my first coral video, where I said the main topic of coral is nihilism. Another way to formulate it is the main topic is hypocrisy. You have to work through your own hypocrisy. Stop blaming other people and external circumstances, but take full responsibility for your own shit. Maybe laundromat is not the perfect word for coral, but wastewater treatment plant. Yeah, the shit of the whole city. You have to clean it up. And with the city is meant the whole history of humankind, especially the history of your story that you've been telling yourself all your life, and maybe even previous lives. Letting go of all belief systems, even helpful ones. Once you're through the washer, as one of you called it, you won't believe in anything anymore. It's not helpful to believe in anything. Belief is an opinion of an authority figure that you trust in without having any evidence. What do you need that for? It's a pacifier. You won't need pacifiers anymore. Coral is internal war. You're waging war against the different aspects of yourself until nothing is left. And that's why so few people stay in coral. You either move towards teal or back towards turquoise at some point, especially if you're in a relationship or if you're in some kind of working relationship. If you have some kind of work, it's almost impossible to have a normal life with work and family and so on and stay in coral. Most people I know who are in coral are single and do not have to work. At least not regularly. Not a normal 9 to 5 or whatever job. So I hope this clarified all the points that I left out in the first coral video, because I don't want to make 1 or 2 hour long videos. My aim is not to have videos longer than 20 minutes. So the main thing, the main difference between coral and other colors like yellow and orange and so on is the topic. The topic is to get rid of all your dirt and to take full responsibility for yourself and not to blame things on others anymore, but to be your own wastewater treatment plant. To lift the carpet, open the basement door, open the closet door, anywhere where you have put dirt or skeletons or things that you didn't want to see before, that you didn't want to deal with, that you didn't want to face. To open all this, to take it all out and to cleanse it. To cleanse it by first accepting it and then later to not take it seriously anymore. The tricky thing is there not to fall, as I said, either into a megalomania trap or into a passivity trap. Once all meaning and purpose is gone, there's initially no more drive to do anything. There's no more reason to act upon anything or react. So it's a good thing to allow yourself to be in that state for a few months, but then move on. It's just one of these many, many ego traps. The ego is just annoyed and offended, and then it says, okay, if I'm not supposed to do anything, then I won't. Then I'll just sit on the couch. It's just another kind of sandbox game the ego tries to play. Don't take it seriously either. And this is also why awakening oftentimes happens in coral. Because you suddenly realize, oh shit, all this me, all my personality, what I thought was I, is not real. It's just a story. And at first this is a devastating blow. It's a little death. It's a dying. The ego starts withering because it is exposed as a hoax. But this is not enlightenment. This is just awakening. Awakening is the first step to realize what's real and what's not real. And most things are not real. That doesn't mean you're a better human being or an elevated or more conscious human being. It just means that you're finally a human adult. You're not a child anymore with childish dreams. It's the natural human state of mind or whatever you want to call it. The natural human state which so many people don't reach because they're too distracted with a fake reality and a fake personality and putting their responsibility on external circumstances and other people. So if you're in turquoise and you want to move towards coral, you're in for a big surprise, but it is a necessary stage, of course. It's just basically taking responsibility and then letting go. It's quite liberating too. And quite humbling. So at some point you can't be arrogant anymore in coral. You have to be humble. At the end of the coral road lies surrender and submission. Okay, that's it for today. Please leave your comments below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and sharing the video with your friends if you liked it. See you soon.